One Piece's most iconic fight look like if it was animated in 2025? Let's find out. Over the next 100 days, I will be reanimating the Ace vs Blackbeard fight from scratch. And it was animated about 20 years ago. The good news is, this scene is so old, it should be easy to improve, right? Well, the bad news is I can improve it, but can I improve it to the standards of modern One Piece, which as of recently has been ridiculously good. So we're gonna have to see how this goes. The first step of this project is to go through the manga and pick out all of the key moments that are most important to the story to reanimate. Blackbeard crew attacks Ace. Ace then attacks them back with his fire gun. He then uses his flame pillar on the Jesus Burgers guy. Ace then hits Blackbeard with a fire fist. This will be the first action sequence that I will label part 1. And then we lead into part 2, which will be Ace saying he's going to make Whitebeard king whilst making his Entei, and then the clash. I only have so much time that I can animate, so those are the ones that I chose. I then start with the rough animation. I'm trying to make the scene flow from one attack to the next. If you look at Kizaru versus Luffy from Modern One Piece, the attacks flow really seamlessly from one to the next, and a good anime adaptation will take manga panels, and instead of just animating each attack, they will animate one attack and then animate the transition from how they got from that attack to the next one. The camera follows their movement and really follows the entire flow of the battle, which is something that this battle in particular is lacking significantly on. So whilst I was doing the rough animation, that is the long-winded way of saying I was trying to make the animation flow from one attack to the next. In order to do that, I changed around the timings of the attack. So I have Ace use his flame pillar first, and then his fire guns, and then his fire fist at the end. And I just made it look a bit more flashy and a bit more in tune with how modern One Piece would look. I also gave some little secret Easter egg touches, like Ace having the Conqueror's Haki lightning, because I've decided to take creative liberty. Hey, look, if they can make Luffy sleep on Kizaru during their 1v1, I can make Ace use lightning as well, because, you know, it looks cool. All right, with the rough animation nice and out of the way, this is kind of a rough look at what that looks like. Super rough, super undetailed and loose, but I just have to get my ideas on the page as quick as possible, which means your faces end up looking like this and your proportions are like this. But no worries, those will be fixed in the next stage. Now, speaking of the next stage, this is the neat stage. I took this shot by Akihiro Ota of Kobe about to throw his Honesty Impact, and I broke it down and recreated it. I traced the line work to kind of get a feel of how he draws his lines and how One Piece composites their lines, and you'll notice that they use a mixture of thick and thin lines. It's not universal. And after stealing all their colors and their backgrounds and looking at the different techniques that you'd need to use to draw the lightning and fire, I composited it and made this. That is their one and this is my one. It doesn't look exactly the same. If anything, it's a bit over composited, but because I'm still very new to compositing, the compositing work tends to only get better as I go through the project, and you'll see what I mean in a bit. But for now, this was a good starter. With this knowledge, I move on to one of my own shots. So I go into part 2 with Ace and his Entei. I just take a shot like this that has a bit of everything. It's got lightning, it's got fire, it's got Ace, it's got a background. And I use this to test whether I am able to make every single piece of the animation. That means all the pieces I just lifted off. Because contrary to popular belief, the amount of times I take an animation to the composite stage and realize I don't know what the hell I'm doing with the background is more than I am happy to admit. That is why most of my old backgrounds ended up being CG or 3D, but One Piece does not, so I needed to test that I could at least bluff my way to having good backgrounds. So I did that. I composited everything. The lightning looks slightly better here, and like I said, the fire looks slightly better. Everything looks slightly better except for the background, and that's fine. Like I said, this is good enough to let me know that I can start production on my production shots. So for the neat stage, I just need to trace Ace's face, which funny enough I could not find a head sheet for him anywhere except for his old head, which looks very different to the modern One Piece style. I actually saw a lot of people say they prefer Ace's old head. I can't say I agree, but you know, to each your own. We're doing modern One Piece style, so we are doing his modern head. We just need to make all the line work look nice, make all the characters look on model, roughly, as good as we can anyway, because, yeah, well, you guys know my on model characters aren't exactly the most beautiful looking specimens, but, you know, I'm trying my best here. I've only got so much time to get this out. I can't worry about each and every face. I have actually pushed myself with this animation, and I've tried to draw a lot more close-up shots of people's faces with a lot more emotion on them when they throw out attacks and things like that. So that's kind of the essence we've captured here, mainly in Ace throwing his fire fist. Yeah, we'll see how that turns out. I have not done that professionally at all. I did not professionally time it or use a timesheet to match up the lip syncing, so I'm sure it will be fine, right? Nothing to worry about, surely. Once we have the neat animation done, it's time to move on to the 3 production stills. Finally, stuff is going to start looking like it's beautiful. So I chose a shot with Ace's full body on display and a background so that I could, you know, practice the background. Yeah, it looks all right. I mean, it looks close enough. I chose a VFX heavy shot next so that I could test what his fire would look like and the lightning again and how it would interact with him and his body. And then I chose a close-up shot of a detailed face shot with a bit of VFX in the background. Now, the main reason I do these production stills is so that I can take my animation from the very start to the very end. It's much quicker to take one image all the way through the process, and then if I hit any problems in production, like I can't recreate the lightning properly, I can find out here, and it's much easier to correct it before I take in the whole thing through it. So that is why you do it. That is why they are necessary. Alright, and now that I've got these 3 finished production stills, all I need to do is make them move, which is easier said than done, I guess. Actually, it's a lot easier said than done. Now, for the most part, you guys have seen the whole production process, and I've talked about it loads on my channel. You can check out all my other videos, they go over it as well. The one thing that is different, on my channel, I did a lot of Demon Slayer animations. Now, Demon Slayer is notoriously good at compositing. Problem is, One Piece, like most normal anime, is not super heavily composited. Now, obviously, modern One Piece is a lot flashier than the old One Piece, but I could still go overboard. You guys in the comments can let me know what you think. Have I overcomposited these scenes? Have I undercomposited them? They're probably not going to change, but at the very least I could change the scenes that I'm going to do in the future. But you guys let me know. Make sure you like and subscribe for part 2, by the way. And these sound effects are not final, but they are decent enough, and it's not as interesting when there's no sound effects with it. And this is the full final animation for what we have so far. I hope you enjoy. 全開火柱全開